Good evening. I can see we're filling up. That's awesome. Okay. So what we're going to be doing just before we do introductions is we're making all of our folks who are going to be presenting information tonight a co-host. And then thanks to my tech savvy, not only support for Ho'omana, but also folks in the audience, we will then spotlight when they present and do it that way so that it makes it a little bit smoother for our transition. So great. Thank you. Okay, it's 5:03. Shall we go ahead and we'll start with our introductions. I know folks will be joining us. We can also add a little bit at the end, but I do want to honor everybody's time. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself, Kahea.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't know how to spotlight us together, not a skill we practice, but that's okay. So my name's Debbie Kobayakawa, and I'm a parent. I have a 31-year-old. He turned 31 on Monday. Son with autism, intellectual disabilities. He's hearing impaired, and a few other fun things. And this is my lovely partner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kahea Eli. I'm the second part of Ho'omana. I am also a parent. My daughter Jordan is 28, and she has Down syndrome. And the two of us help to support other families who have children or caregivers who have children with disabilities. Yeah.
So Ho'omana, Kahea came up with the word because she's part Hawaiian. Obviously, I'm not. And that it means empowerment. And so what we really try to do with our parent support group and our program is to empower parents to find the skills, find their voice, and to not be afraid and to move forward and do the hard work that we all need to do, right? But sometimes we can feel like we don't know how to do that. So that's part of why we're here tonight. I'll let you kind of tell our backstory, Kahea.
Yeah, so we started a little over 3 years ago. Our funding does come from the Windward District Autism Program. And so at the time, we only serviced families that were on the Windward side. And our focus was on families who had someone with autism. And at that time, we had like one in-person meeting. We eventually had 3 in-person meetings a month. And because of COVID, we have pivoted, as that's the trending word right now, to having virtual meetings. And now we do 3 virtual meetings a month. And silver lining, right, Debbie? We get to service anyone now. It doesn't matter where they live in the state of Hawaii. It doesn't matter what type of disability their family member has. They are welcome at Ho'omana, and we get to support them.
Yeah, as long as they feel that this support group and how we're structured will meet their needs. For some folks, it may not be what they're looking for, but we can certainly try to help plug them into something that might be a better fit for them as well. We know that there's a few, autism-specific groups out there. And so some of our information that comes out is, but really it's kind of tailored for folks that have intellectual and developmental disabilities. So all the folks that are presenting tonight, this is generally the population they serve. I can't say that every single one is going to serve everybody's child or student that's here tonight, but that's sort of the breadth of what we're trying to present. So a little bit of housekeeping. This is being recorded, as we said before. So we are going to have everyone muted when the presenters start. We don't mean to be rude. We don't want to silence you, but in this instance, because we have a lot of folks presenting and a lot of information, in order to keep the flow and to stay within our time and to honor all of your time, we're going to do that. We're going to refrain from questions, and we're going to ask that you folks type it in the chat. Then my lovely co-host here will be monitoring the chat, and we'll try to pick a couple of questions after each speaker that they can answer. So we've allowed about 5 minutes to do that, and then to also allow for the transition to the next speaker. We are going to capture all of the questions tonight, either from the chat or that you might send to us later. typing in the chat is not something that works for you, or you're brand new to Zoom, that's okay. You have our email address where you got this Zoom link from. You can email us your questions. We're going to put that all into a big document. There'll probably be a lot of the same questions, right? And that way you'll have the opportunity to not only have your questions answered, but other people's, because sometimes other people think of great questions that we wouldn't have thought of, right? So we want you to have that opportunity like you would in a live Q&A, but we'd be here all night if we did that. So I want to make sure I captured everything here. And then, oh, there will be an evaluation at the end of the event this evening. That is our evaluation that we kindly ask that you folks take the time to do for us. It'll really be helpful. We want to, and we really want you to be honest with us. We have thick skin. We're a little older. So, you know, we want to know how to do it better. We want to know how to best serve you. We want to know the information that you folks found most meaningful. So if you'd be kind enough to do that, if you got to drop off and you're not able to get that, again, just email us and we can send it out to you. So we want to make sure that we will follow up with everybody. Not tomorrow, I will promise you that, but we will get it out within hopefully the next week to 10 days. Okay. Yeah, I don't think any of us are going to do this tomorrow. I'll be very honest. I think, oh, and I also want to invite you folks. We know this is family time, right? 5 to 7:30. I'm hiding in my office. There's leftovers in the fridge, but if you need to cook dinner for your family, if you want to eat your own food, you know, turn your camera off. This is really for you to just sit back and absorb and get the information, and also get faces to names, contact information for these agencies, because I'm going to tell you right now, Kahea and I have been swimming in the adult world. I've been out here 11 years because my son aged out at 20. If you're in DOE right now and your child is getting their services, it will never, I know this sounds crazy, it will never be this as good as this gets. You will never have a care coordinator who's going to handle coordinating everything. You may have a case manager, but it's different. And you become the care coordinator. So make the most out of all this information, make the most out of all these opportunities. And my hope tonight in helping to design this event is that you folks will be able to be proactive to go out and get the services and supports that you need for your loved one or your family member who has a disability. Okay, they're not going to come running after you, and they're not going to serve it up on a silver platter. I don't know, did something change, Kahea, that I'm not aware of? That, or does that
changed? And what we like to tell families too is that, you know, the DOE is until your child is 22 or the day before their 22nd birthday. The agencies that you're going to meet tonight, if you don't already use their services, this is the lifetime services. So these are the things you need to get comfortable with, especially if you want a smooth transition for your child when they're leaving the DOE.
Absolutely. Okay, we have our first up, and I just want to make sure I got everything on my list. I'm so sorry. And then get a timer set here. So what I thought I would do, unless you don't want me to, and you can tell me that as you come in, but our first presenter is going to be from the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. They have 3 folks that are with them. I will let you know about 1 minute before your 10 minutes is up. And I'll just kind of real quick say, okay, you're there. That way you can wrap it up, and we'll have that 5 minutes for a couple of questions and to transition. So if you're able, put your questions in the chat. Angel and Kahea will be grabbing those, and I'm going to leave it to their discretion to just ask a couple, and then we'll move on. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, now I just have to find her on here. Okay, go ahead, Marian.
Okay, thank you. I'm Marian Suji. I'm with the Division for Vocational Rehabilitation, and I am the Oahu branch manager. And with me today, I have Ken Tanaka, who oversees all of the Windward high schools, and then Sherry Komatsu, who provides me with lots of support and administrative support. So just to kind of give you a little background about us and what our mission is, we work as a team. Let me see. Sorry. We're trying to. slideshow. Okay. We work as a team so participants can achieve their hopes and aspirations for meaningful employment through timely and individualized vocational rehab services. So we are looking at long-term supports and long-term goals. We're not looking at just trying to help somebody get a job. So we're statewide, and in other words, we provide employment-related services to help people with vocational impediments either enter or return to work or maintain employment. So I know, a lot of our folks are able to get that job, but we want to make sure that they're able to keep that job as well. I'm going to turn it over to Sherry now.
Excuse me. So yes, the eligible populations that we have the youth who are defined as 14 to 21 years old in high school, post-secondary education program, or a nationally accredited educational program. Also, the population of adults we have is 18 years or older. Next slide. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, so for the youth in high school, the eligibility criteria is if they have an IEP, a 504, or a documented disability. So that then they are able to access our 5 basic pre-employment transition services listed here. We have brochures as well. So we have all this information in the brochure, the pre-employment transition services brochure. So other than the 5 pre-employment transition services, if a student or an individual needs additional individualized services, they can apply for our what we call the full VR application or full VR case type, and that can be accessed either through email, through the website, or you could give us a call and we can either mail you an application, or right now we are able to see people through appointments, but if you need one mailed to you, we can mail it to you. But when it comes to the high school students, if you need an application, we do all the communication through the transition coordinators, just to streamline the process and make sure everybody, the whole team, is on the same page.
Okay, this is Ken. Okay, for the regular VR applicants, we look at these areas to determine their eligibility. So the individual must have a mental or physical disability that impairs the person's ability to significantly find work or obtain or maintain work, and then requires our VR services to learn and develop employment skills, obtain, regain employment, and or retain employment. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the basic VR process that we have from beginning to end. So the first part is a referral that we take. Then we do an intake, which is our application process. And we used to do that by in person, but I guess with COVID, we a lot of times do that by phone or other means. But basically, we gather information that is needed to basically, we use it to determine eligibility for our services. Now, if the person is determined eligible for our services, they do go on a wait list, as Hawaii is in an order of selection. I'll go over what the order of selection is in a minute. But again, we do have a wait list once the person is determined eligible. When they do come off the wait list, then the process continues and they'll work with their VR counselor to get employment counseling and guidance, basically to determine and develop a vocational plan. In the plan, we'll have the type of services that we can provide for the person, and then that's when we can finally provide the services. And again, those services will be listed on the plan. And hopefully, in the end, we'll have a positive employment outcome where the person is gainfully employed. So that's our basic process for our VR applicants. Okay, next slide. Okay, so as mentioned in the previous slide, Hawaii is in an order of selection. And basically, that's a federal regulation which requires VR agencies to prioritize who they can help if they don't have enough staff or money to serve everyone who's eligible for our services. Now, the purpose of the order selection is basically to increase and improve services to persons with severe disabilities, including those with the most severe disabilities. So again, in Hawaii, we are in an order of selection, and basically we've chosen to prioritize and help our participants who are already receiving services. And that's why when new applicants apply and are determined eligible, they go on a wait list. So next slide. Now, for the people who are on the wait list, we do have a priority category classification for each individual. And we have 3 different category types based on their limitations and the services needed to address those limitations. The categories, the individuals are placed on the wait list will be in chronological order based on their priority category and date of application. Okay, so next slide. Okay. So basically, in a nutshell, that's our what our agency can provide. If you need additional information, you can go to our website that's listed here. If your child is in high school, you can contact your school's transition coordinator, and then they can also contact one of our VR counselors who is assigned to each high school. And okay, I guess.
Okay, you guys are in time. You have a couple extra minutes. And if I could ask one of you VR folks to make sure to put the main website in the chat for us, that would be great.
Sure.
And for folks that want to take a screenshot, you're welcome to do that. You want to take a picture with your phone, you can do that.
Great.
I'll also include it in the questions that will be sent out after the meeting.
Great.
Thank you.
I know I put something in the chat about the order of selection. Please don't be put off or discouraged, right? There's 3 different categories. A lot of our folks are going to be category 1 or 2. They're going through the list. Maureen, your folks administrator, Maureen Bates, is on the DD Council, and she's been reporting regularly at our council meetings on that. So it's very encouraging, I think. And besides that, you never get a service if you don't get on the list to wait to have your name called.
Right.
I'm going to let anybody else. Yep.
So there's 3 questions. So the first question is, who is the Windward DVR point of contact?
That would be Ken.
Who suddenly his camera went off. Okay, Ken, so you are the Windward point of contact. And usually, Ken, you work with the transition coordinator, correct, at the school?
Okay, so if your child is in a high school, you would contact the transition coordinator there. We have a counselor that's assigned to each school. So I wouldn't be, if your child is in high school, I wouldn't be the point of contact. It would be the transition coordinator, and they in turn would connect with the VR counselor who's connected with that individual high school.
Okay, so the question that came from a parent whose child is in the 8th grade. So who would be the point of contact for her?
So normally we handle people who are 14 years and older.
So what
So
high school
She would
will
be
her
going
child-
to Kailua High School, I believe.
Okay, so that's Keanu.
yes.
So
So
you can
again, though,
one of us
transition
and-
coordinator would be the contact person.
Okay. All right. Okay. And one more question. For DVR, how long is the average wait time? So typically, not like you don't have to give an exact number, but what would be the typical wait time for a person that's on that wait list?
So 2 years ago, it could be as long as 2 years.
Okay.
But we've been able to chip away at that wait list, and for the most significantly disabled category 1, that's been coming off within a couple of months recently.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's not bad at all.
No,
Yeah.
so we're getting there, but we still need to get to category 2 and 3. And, as encouraging as that is, I know that everybody also knows that, we have hiring freeze. So we're kind of running at like 50%, bandwidth right now, and trying to still make sure that services are delivered. And at the same time, just like everybody else, kind of making the adjustments to virtual platforms. But I will say we've got great partners. We've got a couple of those partners here tonight that will be presenting later. Abilities Unlimited, Lanakila Pacific, CDS, and those are the folks that are actually delivering those services, boots on the ground. So hats off to them, because they've really come through for us and have been able to pivot in a very big way with this pandemic.
Okay, I have 2 more questions. One is, if health insurance for ABA services are no longer covered at age 21, would VR be able to provide ABA?
I have to punt that to Sherry or Ken.
What is ABA services?
Applied behavioral analysis.
Oh, thank you.
Usually ABA is provided by a registered behavioral technician, and that would be under the supervision of a licensed behavioral analyst.
It's possible. Of course, we would be looking at other comparable benefits as well. So again, that would probably be determined with the individual's VR counselor at the time.
All right, and then the last question, and this one is actually a personal question. So if a person had DVR while they were in school, but as an adult did not use DVR services, but then required DVR services again, how would they access DVR?
They would just apply. So that's why what we're doing is we are encouraging folks that are in high school to apply while they're in high school, because while we had this wait list, they could at least get some of those core services while they were in high school, while they were waiting, so that hopefully the timing would be right, so that before they left high school, we would be able to get them off the order of selection. I mean, basically for us, we don't want to see a break. We want to make sure that all the great work that's being done in the high schools transfers seamlessly into post-secondary or into some sort of vocational training program.
And I'm going to have to be the mean gatekeeper of the time, but it's a perfect segue into what
Okay.
Abigail has to share about developmental disability. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight, folks. We'll be sending out the list of questions so that we can make sure that everybody gets the answers and has them in writing. So thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Great. Thank you.
Hello, can you folks hear me now? All right, so good evening. Yes, good evening. All day long, usually all my Zoom meetings are in the morning, so I'm just so accustomed to saying good morning, good morning. But anyway, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. My name is Abigail. I am from the Developmental Disabilities Division, and today I have a short window, and this is gonna be my shortest presentation ever. So let's see if I could get it done in 10 minutes. That's a challenge. But first of all, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go ahead and send some of the slides over to you folks via the chat box. I will also be sending them over to the team at Ho'omana so they could go ahead and email it to you. But what you will see shortly in the chat box will be two documents, the handout that I am referring to tonight, and then we will also be sending you over some eligibility, an eligibility pamphlet, booklet, whatever you want to call it, that goes over some of the eligibility or intake questions that we have for DDD. All right, so today or tonight, we're going to go ahead and talk about DDD. We're going to talk about a vision for a good life, and then we're going to take a look to see on how all of this comes together when it comes to our children, when it comes to the loved ones that we support. When you folks hear a lot from other family members, right? I know today we're all about looking at resources for our children. But we want to also make sure that we're still thinking about that big picture, about planning for that vision for a good life. So let's get all the formal stuff out of the way. Here in DDD, our mission is we want to every day make sure that we foster partnerships and provide quality person-centered and family-focused services which support and promote self-determination. And ultimately, we want to make sure that we're constantly shooting for our North Star is that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities always have healthy, safe, meaningful, and self-determined lives. So in a nutshell, we want to make sure that their lives are just as good as ours. Their lives look almost exactly like ours. We want to make sure that they have the same opportunities and using the services that are available through DDD, that these opportunities can come true for them. All right. So, in a nutshell, I know everyone's from the best side of the island. I wish I lived on that side. You guys all have such nice, serene green everywhere. And then there's Mililani Red Dirt. But we have actually 15 units across of the island. But here on Oahu, we have 8 case management units that come out of our Diamond Head Health Center, our Windward Health Center, which is Unit 4, where majority of our families receive services. But sometimes you never know, your child may be receiving services or they may live somewhere else, and their case manager may be based out of Waimano, which has units 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we have our Kapolei offices, which has our 2 case management units on the west side, units 2 and 3. So, in a nutshell, with DDD eligibility, we are mandated by state law. According to our Hawaii revised statutes, we defined having a developmental disability in 2 different categories, having a developmental disability and an intellectual disability. So, the definition for a developmental disability includes if there is an eligible condition which is present before age 22, which will require lifelong services, and then it limits their function within their certain life areas. As for on the intellectual disability side, this for all the eligible conditions would need to be present prior to the age of 18. It also includes using or having an administered IQ test, and which also limits the function within certain life areas. So again, these life areas, whether it's a developmental disability or intellectual disability, they must be, I don't like to say negative words, but opposite of proficient. They must show that they need additional support in these following life areas. So if they need a little bit more support in self-care, if they need a little bit more support with receptive and expressive language, so talking and receiving and giving expressive language, you notice communication is a whole different ball game. But again, based off of um, the definitions that we have, if they are need assistance with learning, mobility, self-direction, a capacity for independent living, and then economic self-sufficiency. So if you along the way, if your child is eighth grade, ninth grade, whatever grade they are, make sure that you save assessments along the way, because these assessments will come into play when you're applying for DDD. So our intake process, whether you heard through the Coconut Wireless or you received the denial letter directly from DDD, I'm so sorry, that's not me. It is a lengthy process. And because of legislation, we have specific timeframes that we need to follow. So it helps out if you have these documents ahead of time. And building off of what Marian was mentioning, I like to tell families to apply for DDD while you are still under the umbrella of the Department of Education. You may get a denial letter, but at the same token, you're still receiving the services from DOE, and we can constantly try to reapply, whether you need to put in a new application or apply for an appeal. You'll still have your support coordinator, your care coordinator at your high school there to help support you. All right, so our main number on Oahu is 733-1689. Because of the fact that our eligibility process and our intake process is pretty lengthy, we do have all of the information available online on our website. When you click on our website, on the right hand side, you're going to see this sidebar that says how to apply. What I want you to folks to do is, if you have time, click on how to apply, and then it will take you to the eligibility booklet. And luckily for you folks, I already put that intake booklet in the chat for you. And then I'll go ahead and send it over to Debbie and Kahea after tonight, so that way you folks could have it, not tomorrow, but later on. All right. So here in DDD, I'm not sure if you folks heard or know, or you are receiving services from us, but we are looking at providing services and support for across the lifespan. This has been a framework where we wanted to kind of change our thinking and change our minds, that we wanted to make sure that we look beyond just looking at eligible services. So as you folks know, you folks are parents, you folks go through this with your children, right? The different life stages. Across the lifespan here in DDD, we provided services to children 4 and under, 29 children. School age children, we serviced about 323. In that transition age of 15 to 22, 581 individuals. Adulthood, 23 to 55, 1,913. And then our aging population, we have 616. So in 2019, we provided services to about 3,462 individuals across the state. So if you just take a look at a lot of the services, or just the amount of people that we're serving, our biggest age group is the adulthood age group. And then as you folks can see, right, typically, right, under 3 years old, our child receives services from early intervention. Then we have DOE helping us out throughout school age and transition. And then realistically, after DOE, just like what Debbie was saying, right? Realistically, like what is there? We may have some services come up on the health plan side, right? With ABA services, or even our friends over at DVR. But a lot of the services that you're going to see is provided by the, if you're eligible, the Department of Health Developmental Disabilities Division. So if we're taking a look at across the lifespan, or if we're just taking a look at when our child leaves DOE. So here is a list roughly of the DOE eligible conditions, right? It's a full gamut of eligible conditions. But what we hear from a lot of families is realistically when they leave the DOE, they are shocked that DDD's eligible condition takes that list and like cuts it in more than half. So realistically, we wanted to make sure that the parents that we meet through parent groups like this, we are able to help plan for them with eligibility services in mind, and also without. So at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we answer our question of what is a good life. So for our children, right? Not necessarily throughout life, we don't say my number one goal in life is to make sure I'm eligible for services for forever, right? We want to make sure that whether we have a disability or not, our good life, believe it or not, doesn't have anything to do with an eligible service. It's having the good life, right? We want to be debt free. We want to live on our own. I want to make sure I move as far away from my children as possible when they're adults so they can leave me alone forever. But right at the end of the day, our main goal in life is not to receive these eligibility services, is to have that same goal in mind. And when your child is eligible for DDD, these services will help get them towards that good life. Okay, so again, we're looking at transitioning, and here within DDD, and even if you are not receiving services from us just quite yet, we want to make sure that we focus on life experiences and as we transition into the next phase of life, right? We're teaching if we want our child to have employment later on, right? We have to start it off with like, hey, let's do chores together, or let's do responsibilities. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we as parents are planning to ensure that we have and we keep that good life for our loved ones. So here you may hear sizzle words like trajectory, what is your good life? But at the end of the day, DDD wants to make sure that all we provide, the services and supports we provide, goes towards positive outcomes. And instead, we do not want it to go towards things that we don't want. Okay, and throughout a lot of our planning process here within DDD, we've adopted this framework from the Life Course framework, which is actually created by family members like yourself. So as I end my fastest presentation of my life, right, continue to ask yourself, what is a good life? What is a good life for yourself? What is a good life for your child? And just in general, what is the type of good life you would think your child would answer? I gave this presentation to a lot of advocates along the way. And believe it or not, their responses are just like me and your responses. Like, I want to live on my own. I want to have a good job, right? I had one that said I wanted to retire. I'm like, how do you know about retirement? But still, when we asked what that meant, and he's like, oh, I just want to cruise. I don't like work anymore. I'm like, oh, me too. Right? At the end of the day, they just want to make sure that they have the right to live, love, work, and play in the same community as you and I. Okay, so all of the information that we have is part of a new framework under Administrator Mary Brogan. And for more questions in regards to this fast presentation that I am so proud of myself. I did it. Please email me at doh.dddtraining@doh.hawaii.gov. So this was actually a presentation that we have different activities. Maybe if you folks are interested, link up with Debbie and Kahea, and then we could go ahead and do the whole family planning, map my pie out activity, and then we can make sure we kind of take a look holistically at our different types of planning or support planning that we have for the individuals we serve and support.
Great job, Abby. Thank you. We have a couple minutes, and then we will make sure to have Abby come be one of our guest speakers at one of our Ho'omana support group meetings. She's done it in the past when we start up for the 2021-22 school year, so not to worry. I'm going to say this, though. My son has been in DDD since he was 12. He turned 31 his entire life. He has a good life. He works. He lives in his own place. It's sustainable, and he's happy, and he has friends, and he just enjoyed a staycation for his birthday with his friends in Waikiki, and I was not invited to dinner, okay? So there you go. Go ahead. Question.
And a lot of times, you know, I think about Debbie, I think about your story and your son and how that, you know, with the type of advocacy, right? The family advocacy looks different across all different parents. But a lot of the times, only because I see Debbie's son pretty often. And, you know, we see that, you know, he totally lives not with his mom anymore. Like he lives in Waipahu, he works and just loves it. And it's just one of those stories where, like, sometimes at the end of the day, that's what I come to think of, like, oh, okay, you know, and I think of a lot of things that Debbie has teach me along the way. And you know what, she's right, like he does have a good life. He doesn't think, oh, I want to be eligible for life. Like no one thinks.
Right.
Anyway,
Okay,
sorry.
so there's 2 questions, okay, in the chat.
Mhm.
They're similar, actually.
Okay.
So the first one is, what is the main reason someone would be denied if they meet the criteria?
Okay, so a lot of the times, believe it or not, in our denials and in our appeals that come into our office, a lot of them pertain to eligibility determination. So sometimes what might be denied is that from a right, so the people reviewing all applications, they don't know who you are, they don't know your child. For you as a family member, right, you know everything, you've lived that life. But a lot of times when you see fresh eyes look upon it, and then they realize, oh no, like you haven't turned in any type of documentation that showed that this condition applied before 22. So to be honest, a lot of the times is that applications will be denied because there wasn't a document that showed this condition happened when they were 9, or that they had a seizure or they had meningitis at a younger age. They continue to just show documentation as they were an adult, but realistically that missing link is showing some type of documentation prior to age 18 or 22.
Okay, the other questions I will send you later, okay?
Oh, okay.
We are ready for our access to independence.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Abby. You did great.
Remember to check the chat. She had uploaded 3 documents if you're interested.
Okay, so next we have Kealoha from Access to Independence. I don't know, you have, you can screen share if you want, Kealoha.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Kealoha from Access to Independence. First off, I want to thank Debbie for inviting me to this program. The first phase I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about Access to Independence, followed by our youth transition program. You folks see my screen? Okay, so Access to Independence is a nonprofit organization originated from San Diego. So typically what we want to do is help all people with disabilities of any age, right? It doesn't matter what age they are, as long as they have a type of disability and they have services that they're seeking and help that they need help with, that is something that we can help with too. Our mission is to promote full participation of people with disabilities. So as you can see here in the middle section, some of the services we help with is information and referral, meaning if we're doing an intake with them and we find that we cannot help them as a service, then we'll go ahead and refer them out to another program that can. Housing resources, independent living skills training, that can be like if our consumers needs help with learning how to wash clothes or how to cook food, how to catch the bus, those sorts of things. And then peer counseling systems and individual advocacy for themselves or being the advocate leader for a group. Youth transition services, I'll go more into that later. Assistive technology, employment services. And then this is our information. We have more than one location, but typically in Hawaii, you won't have one location. And then we have one in San Diego, Imperial Valley, Escondido, and then again in Hawaii. So let me stop that one and let's move over to our actual program. So here at Access to Independence, I am the Youth Transition Coordinator for our youth consumers. Our program is called OPO program. Our RPO program is to help assist disabilities of ages from 14 to 24, trying to transition out of high school into adulthood, right? Teaching them how to be independent as possible, right? Through their community, through their advocacy, through their own friends, through referrals, and just in general. So as we go down the list, the eligibility is 14 to 24 years of age. Now, once they reach the age of 24, that doesn't mean they cannot stay in our program. They will continue to be in our program, but they won't be classified as the OPO youth transition program. They have to have a disability, an IEP, or eligible for one. So if they're still in high school, right, and typically they have an IEP, we're not mandatory to sit into those meetings, but out of consideration, I just ask if I would be able to sit into those, because if you think about it, if you're trying to help one client in all areas, right, I would assume that if Access to Independence is trying to help the student within this area, I would think everybody will be on the same page. And then just having a desire and willingness to work towards independence, right? If they have the confidence, if they have the drive to say, when I graduate, I want to get a job. When I graduate, I want to get my own place, right? So working towards independence. Some of the services we also help with is college transition, right? Filling out the FAFSA application, the college application, helping them register for classes, and then time management, helping them to learn what is time management skills, right? Being productive around the house, being productive of your time, knowing that you only have 24 hours in a day, right? So how are you going to manage your time wisely and have a to-do list and make sure that at the end of your day, you accomplish more on your to-do list. And then employment, we help with resume writing. If they don't have a resume, that is something I could definitely help them with. However, if they do have a resume, I just kind of work with them to see when is the last time you updated your resume. Let's go ahead and update that, because when we start applying for jobs, they're going to most likely ask for your resume, right? Helping them with their cover letter. While we all know cover letters is not mandatory, that is also something helpful to send to a job in an online application. Interview skills preparation. I do before and after. So I prep them for the interview, right? So we go through all this notion of what is a job interview? How do you dress for it? How do you present yourself? And then when you actually get to the interview, I kind of help them and prep them in this typical normal questions they will ask you in a job interview. So they know and they're aware what type of questions they might be getting, right? So they're not scared. And then connecting consumers to job search and employers. So that means if I'm helping them apply for a job, I would say, hey, Indeed job board website is a is a program that I use to help people look for jobs. They have Monster, monster.com, they have LinkedIn, right? So I just share resources with them with what type of job websites there is out there for you to apply online. Independent living skills, time management, like we mentioned earlier, money management, how to manage your time. I mean, how to manage how to manage your money, how to budget your money, right? So if you're receiving monthly income, what's your needs and what's your wants, right? And then trying to teach them how to decipher what is what's more important, what is not. And then also keeping in mind to teach them how to save money, right? Cooking skills. If they want to learn how to cook, we do not go to anyone's home. So typically when it comes to cooking, it will be face-to-face before, but now it'll be over the phone, helping them learn how to cook. If they need help learning a recipe, we'll go over it, right? And then we will pretend that we're cooking it, but really we're not, right? And then when they actually put it to the test, that'll determine if they really was paying attention, right? And then home management, being able to know the difference between your house chores and then just kind of separating that, right? Knowing how to do your own laundry, knowing how to do your own chores, your own bathroom without mom or dad or any other siblings telling you what to do, right? So teaching them in general independent living skills, so when they go on their own and they live on their own, they already know and they know better. Moving on to peer support, mentoring. So as far as peer support, that is super, super beneficial and important, because when it comes to that, we all know that bullying is not absolutely, it's something that we don't tolerate at all, right? So when it comes to peer support and mentoring, we want to make sure that we want to be on the same level as them, right? We want to make sure that they're comfortable talking stories with us. It can either be a one-on-one peer support or it can be within a group, right? So it kind of just depends on them. And then teaching them how to advocate for themselves and then for others as well. So if they're in a group and they all feel the same way, we want to make sure that they know that they have a voice, right? We want to make sure that they feel comfortable enough to communicate that with other people, with their loved ones, to say, hey, I'm being bullied at school. Can I get some help? Right. So for us, we just try to help them advocate that within the group, like I said, or one-on-one. Depends on the situation. And like I mentioned earlier, because it's a mentoring thing, we want to make sure that we keep it confidential as possible. And then last but not least, transportation and travel training. We can't technically go on the bus with them and teach them how to ride the bus. But what I normally do is I'll map out from A to B where they're trying to get to, and then I'll literally show them, okay, you'll get on this stop, right? And then you'll get off at this stop. And then showing them that they could download the bus app. That's also helpful. And then the driver's education, we have a driver simulator in the office, but because of COVID, we're not able to see clients face to face. So when that does get lifted and we get cleared, that is something that we can put on the table again. And then our services is from 8 o'clock to 4:30. And that pretty much ends that second phase. The last thing I wanted to share with you folks is when it comes to intake, ours is not as lengthy, but I do have a 2-part process intake. So the first one will be, we'll receive the call, find out information from them, personal information. And then as long as they have a disability, as I stated, we can help them, right? So the first part is we do the intake process with them. The second part is we talk more stories about the services that they're requesting. For example, if they need employment services or housing services, we would do it on the second part of the phone call, because if I were to do it one time, it's going to be too long. And we all know that sometimes some people cannot stay on the phone no longer than 45 minutes. So for the sake of myself and them, I break it up into 2 parts. So again, the first part is the intake process, asking basic questions. The second part is going over the services they want to work on. And keep in mind, each consumer can have more than one goal at a time. It doesn't matter, right? As long as the consumer knows that we want to help them become independent as possible, and we don't want to enable them. So with
I
that
have
being
to let
said,
you know, Aloha, you have 1 minute, okay, just to keep in
oh,
our
okay,
time limit. No
okay,
problem. Thank you. You're
yeah.
doing great.
So that pretty much sums up. Yeah, that's pretty fast. 10 minutes. Wow.
Well, though, you did really well. I just
Yeah.
want to point out a couple of things just in case you missed it from Kealoha. That one, that their services are absolutely free. And
Mhm.
that you do not require to have DD eligibility in order to access their services. So if you have a child that maybe didn't meet the criteria of DDD, but still required some assistance or needed some supports, Access to Independence is a really good program to access. There is one caveat though. Kealoha, can you tell them where you service?
So we service, I would have to send that to you folks because I don't have much time for that. But typically
Right,
we
but
center
it's a map, so it's
the
not
center area.
yeah.
Yeah, the central area, because we go within geographical location. So yes, we center the service area like Kailua. We don't service the west side, right? That's Aloha Independent that service them. I'll also send Debbie and Kahea brochures for Access to Independence, as well as our transition brochures. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to give me a call, and I'll leave my information on there as well. Thank you, folks, for your time.
Thank you, Kealoha.
Great, thank you. And I believe when we talked to Kealoha initially, we determined that Kailua, Kalaheo, and Castle High School fall within her grant project.
Yes.
So coincidentally doesn't, but that doesn't mean, grants open up all the time and there's different programs, folks. So
Yeah.
don't let it make you feel bad. You just got to be a duck and let it roll off. But yeah, thank you for that. Thank you so much.
You're
do you have any
welcome.
Okay, awesome, great, thank you. I will figure out how to unspotlight you. And let's see if I can do that.
I was able to do it for you, Debbie.
Debbie, we can't hear you, but it doesn't look like you're muted.
Sorry, I'm using my fancy speaker my techie hubby gave me. The red light means it's not on, Debbie. Okay, yes, we have Ronald Deese here next from the Center for Disability Study, and he's from a real specific area, the benefits planning. So this is very important information, folks. Thanks, Ronald.
Hi, okay, I will turn on my screen here. Okay. Whoa, come on. Okay, y'all getting this? I think we got it. All right, thanks, Debbie. So I am here from the UH Manoa Center on Disability Studies, and I'm going to talk about, there's a whole bunch of projects going on there, but the specific one I'm working with is around benefits planning. So this is about employment. As your child gets older and moves into looking at employment, they may also have disability benefits. So the question comes up, how will that employment affect those disability benefits? And I wanted to share some resources here that might help you. So first, I'm gonna give a little context. Okay. So some of the big ones that people ask about are Social Security benefits. So for those that don't know, what exactly is a Social Security benefit? What exactly is Social Security disability? Social Security Administration oversees a huge amount of programs. Some of them are disability related and some are not. Two of the major ones that relate to disability are shown on this slide here. On the left, there is the Supplemental Security Income Program. So that is a Social Security program that's based on disability, but also financial need. Someone has very limited income and savings. And connected to that is our state Medicaid program, which is the primary health insurance that serves those people receiving SSI. Social Security also oversees this other benefit called SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. So that's also a disability program, but it's a little different because you qualify for it by having a work history. By working and paying in taxes, you get work credits, which eventually qualify you for SSDI if you become unable to work at some point. And that's connected to the Medicare health insurance program. So during the course of your child's life, they may use one or both of these programs for income support. They may also use these health insurance programs. Also connected with this SSDI program is this huge umbrella of programs under the Social Security Act, including what's called retirement, childhood disability benefits, and disabled widows benefits. So these different programs have different rules when it comes to employment, but they have something in common. They have what are called work incentive rules. So work incentives are things they build into these programs to make it easier to go to work, to work while having benefits, or to work while transitioning off of benefits into self-sufficiency. And there's different rules for all of these different Social Security programs I mentioned. So work incentives, they can extend eligibility for medical, cash benefits. They can provide supports that help you transition into employment. There's a lot of different ones out there. Debbie knows I can talk about this one thing all night, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna give you one example so we can get done in 10 minutes here. The most common benefit program used by younger people is SSI because SSI does not really need work history. And what happens to SSI? You're receiving it and then you become employed. You might be just doing a part-time student job. You might be an adult and you're looking at employment, getting help from DVR maybe. So SSI tries to make it to your advantage to work no matter how much or how little you work. And they do that by applying this formula. So when you work, you report your pay to them. Whatever you report, they do not count the first $20. They do not count the next $65. They divide the subtotal by 2. They take out these things called deductions to get a lower countable income number. And the countable income is what's used to offset the SSI payment. So it's not like you earn $1 here and you lose $1 there. There's an effect, but it's more like you earn $2 here and then $1 goes down on the SSI. So I'm gonna show briefly this worksheet just to show you that there is a formula, there is a logic to this that can be figured out. So for example here, let's say someone made $555 a month from earned income, from pay. Their SSI payment is normally down here, 794 a month. What the effect of all this means is that the SSI payment would be adjusted to 559 a month. Now, while that's certainly less than 794, what I always talk to people about is we got to look at the big picture. Add together the work income and the adjusted SSI, and your total income is now 1,114. So this is the work incentive. The rules make it possible for you to work and get ahead if you kind of understand them. And also, it's very important to communicate with Social Security when you're working to report work income regularly. So let's clear these drawings here. So let me show you that again in a different way. So 794 of SSI is all you have when you have no job. That's the most someone can receive. But you start working part-time, pay goes up, SSI goes down. But end result is you're winning. You got 1,114 overall. And the vast majority of the time you can get ahead by working. And SSI in particular has some of the best work incentives. So so that was a lot to take in, and I just talked about that very quickly. You probably could not repeat that calculation back on your own, but you don't necessarily have to, because out there is this service that exists to help people figure out ahead of time with any given job offer what would be the effect on the disability benefits, the cash benefits, the health insurance. And that's called benefits planning. The idea with this is you meet with a benefits counselor either before you go to work or right when you're starting to work, so you can figure out what your plan is ahead of time. We don't want no surprises. We want every step planned out like as much as possible. And the purpose of this is not that your benefits planner will tell you work this much, work that much. They're not going to tell you what to do with your job, but they're going to provide you information so you can make informed decisions. With any employment decision, they will help you predict ahead of time what the effect would be. Navigate all these messy rules and boil it down to what you need to know. So that's what benefits planning is about. And I actually have two different resources I want to tell you about when it comes to benefits planning. The first is this work incentive planning and assistance program, which is really open to the public. It has a very high priority on serving young people with SSI that are transitioning into employment. The other resource is the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, which you heard about earlier. They actually work with the University of Hawaii to embed benefits planning into their process very early on, the whole way along. They provide access to benefits planning. So I want to briefly talk about these two things. So the way this WIPA program operates, which
Ronald, I just need to let you know, this is Debbie. You have about a minute to wrap it up, okay? You're doing great.
Okay. Let me move this along. So the WIPA program provides both basic information and an in-depth benefits analysis in writing. And this is the contact information for the WIPA program. The vocational rehabilitation program, well, they've already talked about how you get in touch with them, but they also provide benefits planning to all of their clients. So I have their contact info here, and you already received it earlier. One of the things we're doing is we're bringing presentations to all the high schools through the transition coordinator. So if you're talking to the transition coordinator, as they mentioned, you're going to get this flyer starting in May about some presentations the Center on Disability Studies is doing about things to know about the transition process. And the last thing is my personal contact information. If you want to talk, feel free to reach out to me. And I am going to put these slides into the file share in a second here, because I know I went through those phone numbers real fast. And I'll also load our website into there.
There's a couple of questions real quick before we move on that I wanted to make sure we got in.
Cool.
We need to remove the spotlight, Debbie. Okay, so one person asked, where do I find a benefits planner, a counselor that speaks in easy to understand words?
Easy to understand words. Oh, and I can't, it doesn't want me to upload my slide here. Okay, so your benefits counselor, the thing to understand is that if they're talking about things generally, it will be pretty abstract, like what I've shown you today. If you meet with a benefits counselor individually, you will show them your exact benefits you're getting and your exact work goal, so they can zero in on exactly what the plan would be for you. So they can talk as much or as little as you want about general concepts, and as much or as little as you want about exactly what's going to happen in nuts and bolts terms. And honestly, which part people want to hear varies from person to person. So they will work with you to give you the information that you want to talk about the topics you're interested in. And we're talking about how UH does it on those two.
I actually really enjoyed the way that you explained it tonight. I really did. I thought it was really great. One more question. Would all of this information that you shared about SSI also apply to someone who had SSDI?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't get into SSDI at all, but it's very different. And there's also sometimes specific things that are relevant to SSDI that are very important that I didn't cover. For example, people that are in school get special deductions when it comes to SSI and work.
So Ronald, I think that it might be great if we scheduled you to come to a Ho'omana night, or just one night that's just for families that might have more questions about SSI and SSDI. We can plan for that. Yeah,
if you get a lot of requests for that, definitely, like speaking to families with especially kids in high school or just out of high school is like a super high priority for me.
All right, and then we'll also email you questions so that you can really think about it and write an answer out. But thank you so much, Ronald. Yes. That was great. Like, yes. That was awesome.
I barely fit it in time.
He's my go-to guy. I will call him when I'm literally, he knows this, he's heard from me recently, standing on the edge of the cliff, ready to jump off. And he will help me keep my sanity. You know, he doesn't have a magic button or a magic wand, but he explains it to me so I can go on the website, download the forms, do what I need to do, and actually like not hit my head against the wall. So he's a great go-to, as are all the folks at CDS, but he's very family friendly. So when you're coming with your own individual stuff, it'll make a lot more sense. We're ready. So thank you again, Ronald, for being here. And we're ready to roll into Melissa from Abilities Unlimited. Okay, Melissa, you are a co-host. There you go.
Okay. Hello. Let me see what I got here. Hold on one second. Hold on. Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Hello, I'm Melissa. I am from Abilities Unlimited. We are a CRP, which is basically a community rehabilitation program. We have two partners, two main partners or agencies that we partner with at Abilities Unlimited. We partner with DOH and DD Services, and we partner with vocational rehabilitation. Debbie, thanks for inviting me. It's very good timing for me to be here, and you'll see why at the end of my presentation. But basically for Abilities Unlimited, our mission is to build inclusive communities, whether it's, you know, our day program and getting our participants out in the community constantly, or it's our employment program. I myself run the employment program side, which our partner again is vocational rehabilitation. So if you want to access any of the services you see here on the screen, you need to be involved with the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Now there's two categories, right? You can either be your child can either be a full-fledged client at VR, or your child could be getting pre-ed services in the high schools. We are currently servicing through our Jumpstart program 8 high schools, and we are delivering 9 classes there. We've converted very quickly to online classes, and I'm very proud of what the staff is doing there. We have really great teachers, and I do believe the students are learning quite a bit. Their big project this year is to do an online resume. They're using a program called Flipgrid to be able to do that. And the results we're getting, you guys, are phenomenal. We do service students with all different disabilities as well. But if you look at the program on the right, this is supported employment. Supported employment, the unique thing about this program is that it comes with quite a bit of job coaching. Okay, so a job coach is somebody that goes, you know, onto the work site that helps the employee with accessibility issues. So problem solving in trying to get you know, different barriers that the employee might have. The job coaches help them problem solve solutions, right? And then the job coach also helps them build natural supports there at the work site. Now with this program, the one-on-one support, the job coaching is not permanent. It's very temporary. So the goal of this program is independence. So we slowly pull out of the job site. But I love this program. I think it works. We take our time finding the right employer for that, for the student or for your child or for the employee, however you want to say it. But I think Abilities Unlimited does a really great job in finding that right fit, because really, when it comes to maintaining a job, it's not just for them, you know, it's for anybody, for you, for me, for everybody. It's finding that right fit. And that's where the magic is. So we do take a little time getting to know our participants and finding that right fit. And it's also educating employers on our services, on individuals with disabilities, you know, letting them know that, you know, we will partner with them and find them good employees that can do the essential functions of the job. What else do we have here? So
Melissa, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We can't see the top of the slide. We're seeing the other stuff, but like up above. Yeah. Okay. So that's BW8. Thank you.
So let me explain these really quick. So the the other side that I was working on is supported employment. This side is VWAT, which is basically vocational work adjustment training. So these are the two contracts we work under for VR. So we have the Jumpstart classes. We have another job empowerment technology training. The workforce has gone very heavy, of course, because of COVID, to phone interviews, virtual interviews, and then maybe a one-on-one in-person interview. So it's really important. We've had to work really fast to just do this pivot everybody talks about, or do this 360 to change our services so we keep in front of everything so our participants don't get left behind. And then another important or popular program that we provide is this internship program. So we do it two different ways. So we're involved with summer youth employment, and we also have work-life development. They're very close in what we do there, well, except this year, but they're very close. It's a 6-week paid internship. So they technically would be our employee. And then we find a partner in the community that will take them on as an intern. They provide the supervision and the work duties. We provide the pay and a little bit of job support in that service. But it's really great for students because they get to experience, is this the career path that they want? Let's say they choose food service. Is that really what they want to do? And they get to experience that. It's good sometimes for somebody to get their foot in the door because we partner with employers and really provide the support. And we look at it as kind of like a longer job training, which is really helpful to the employers. And it also gives us good assessment and good data on the participant. So, going forward, we know, is this the right path for them? Will they be able to succeed in employment independently? So let me go on to, I'm going to stop sharing this and I'm going to share something else with you. Okay, so okay. You guys see that? You can see that, right? Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Thank
Sorry.
you. Okay. So the reason why I said this is perfect timing for me is because we are announcing something very different this year. Yes, that flyer says camp. So we are, because of really what we've all been through collectively this year, especially our students. I'm a parent myself. I wanted to plan something very special for the kids. And so we came up with this idea to run a summer youth employment camp. So what this looks like is it is an overnight camp. Let me just tell you that straight from the beginning. But we are combining a lot of things here. So our camp will have 3 different parts to it. We will have a paid work experience that they will be doing on campus, on the camp campus. There's different positions like grounds maintenance, housekeeping, there's a food service position, photographer, and also activities assistant. So they'll be working, getting paid at the campsite, and the duration of that will be approximately 10 days. there will be a paid training piece to the camp, and there will be a paid coursework piece to the camp. Those two pieces, the training and the coursework, will be virtual. Then on the camp, at the camp for those 10 days, what we will be focusing on is right here on the left. We are going to have we're going to kick it off with the reverse job fair. Then we're going to do, of course, the paid internship. Then we're going to go into independent living skills. And I'm going to have different individuals come into the camp and talk about that, talk about different resources. We're going to go through financial literacy. They're going to get a $50 for the first group at the camp. They'll get a $50 advance. We're going to work out a budget with them, and we're going to provide a field trip into Haleiwa, where they will get to exercise their own independent choices for that $50. So let's say it's lunch. We'll give them 3 choices, like McDonald's, a food truck, and then maybe a restaurant. So they get to decide, is McDonald's the healthiest choice? It's not, but it's the cheapest choice, right? So we're going to work on that with them. Then there's a health and physical wellness, and then social and emotional wellness piece that we're going to do. The Camp Erdman, the YMCA, they're super excited to kick off this camp. There is a video that I can provide on a schedule if you're an interested family that explains they explain on the video the COVID adjustments that the camp has made overall. I know I'm already getting, I'm getting tons of questions and emails already. I just started announcing it this week. But the camps will be, or the cabins will be gender specific. We will have 2 staff assigned to us from the from Camp Erdman, and then we will always have 3 to 4 staff members there at any given time. And at night, there will be an adult in the cabins. I will probably be working out of there for 6 weeks. It is on a track system, so it's a slot of 25 students, but we're going to do the first 2 weeks of camp will be 5 students, and then 10 students, and then the last 2 weeks will be 10 students. So I have all of that. You can get that information either, I can give you the information, I cannot give you the application. The application, they're due April 30th, and you can get them from VR or your school transition coordinator. Once the application is filled out, you'll send the application to me, and then we will select individuals kind of through a panel. So it's going to be 1 from our office, 1 from VR, and 1 from the camp. And so we want to also place them in the right groups as well.
Melissa, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You've got to wrap it up. Okay, we're right. You got about less than a minute.
Okay. So
okay, sorry.
No, it's fine. So we are very excited to bring this to the community. And one thing I've learned planning this is everybody loves a camp. So what's great is employers, all I have to do is say the word camp and they want to be involved. So I find that to be very, very refreshing. So again, if you have any questions, you can email me. My email is mgerber@auhawaii.org, or you can call me directly at 808-227-4271.
Melissa, there has go ahead. You got it.
Sorry, Debbie. There is a question about what the ages are, the age requirement for the camp.
Okay, so the ages are 18 to 22. Ages are 18 to 22. And there are different qualifications too, like if your child is taking medication, they have to be able to take it independently. We do realize that we could get a license to be able to administer medication, but we're not there yet. Hopefully, if this is a great success, we'll be able to do this next year as well. And we can have somebody on staff that's licensed to do that. We will be doing even CPR training and stuff like that out there at the camp. So yeah, it's just packed. I don't even have enough time to tell you all the stuff we have planned, but it's going to be great.
Wonderful. And then all your
Yeah.
other questions, send them. You've got Melissa's information. I literally had to take my mouth shut to not blab this because she told me about it last week. So yay, cat's out of the bag. And thank you so much, Melissa. We really appreciate you being here and presenting
There's
this great
one more
information.
question. Someone
Okay.
wants
Yeah.
to get a copy of the first slide.
Oh, yep. Debbie, I'll send all the slides to you and you guys can distribute them, right?
Yep. You
Okay.
can do that.
Yep.
Great.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Yes,
Oh.
it's such a great opportunity.
Debbie, can I just say one more thing to the
Sure.
parents? I just want to encourage everybody when it comes to the CRPs that, you have to be referred, yes, by VR, but there's no reason you can't, outside of VR, go to the CRPs like us or Lanakila or Network and ask for a tour. So again, you can do that independently from VR. I really encourage parents to do that and educate themselves so they understand the difference between the programs. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing. And next up, we are going to have Kahumana. I'm not sure which one, who's going to present, but we have Kiana and Tiffany here from Kahumana. So let's get.
I'll be presenting. So.
Okay, great. Let's see. Where are we at? Wonderful. All right, go ahead.
I believe you have to make me co-host first.
So is this Tiffany? Okay. Thank you. Got it.
Awesome. Okay. I'm so sorry if you can hear my AC. It's to drown out the kids outside. Okay. Again, my name is Tiffany. I am the ADH Service Supervisor for Kahumana Learning Center in Kailua. This is just a brief breakdown of what I'll be talking about. I'll be talking about Kahumana, the services we provide, our locations, kind of what we do, and then my staff. And after that, I can answer any questions you folks have. So Kahumana was actually founded in 1974. Not a lot of people know that. They started as a community of people seeking an alternative method of creating a holistic world. And since then, we've grown into an inclusive society with various departments to support all walks of life. So we've got an organic farm, we have a cafe, a commercial kitchen, a retreat, and housing, and then of course us, the Learning Center. So we're just one of the branches of this big tree. At the Learning Center, we provide services to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The services we provide are ADH and CLSG. For those who don't know those acronyms, ADH stands for Adult Day Health, and CLSG is Community Learning Services Group. So these are the center and community-based services. In that top left, that's a Christmas party. So this program, it runs 6 hours from 8:30 to 2:30. This is specifically for Kailua. The other two programs we have are services we have our CLSI, Community Learning Service individual. And then PAB is the personal habilitation, and that is a one-to-one service. So CLSI is in the community, and then PAB is your in-home service. So we have two locations. Our first one is on the Leeward Coast, and that's in Waianae. That's also where you'll find everything else Kahumana, which is the farm and the cafe and the retreat. And then our second location is on the Windward side, and that's in Kailua. That's St. Christopher's Church, for those of you who know where that is. So every month we send out a activity calendar. So it kind of looks like this. Change it up just a bit, but it's pretty much the same. We'll send out one every month with our participants, so a hard copy goes home. But don't worry, we also send an email because, you know, let's be real, it doesn't always make it home. So a typical week would be Mondays. We go out and, you know, the mall, a park, and it doesn't even have to be on that side of the island. Sometimes we'll take a trip to the Waianae location. You know, it just depends on what our participants want. So they absolutely have a say in what goes on this calendar. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we spend volunteering at the Kalakaua Market. There's a senior center at the beginning of our parking lot. I don't know if many of you know that, but there's a senior center there, and that's where they volunteer. They also enjoy doing like park cleanups or beach cleanups. A lot of them, you know, they love the beach, and so they want to keep it clean. And so they'll ask us, you know, can we go to the beach and maybe pick up some rubbish and whatnot, and then they get to have some fun with their friends at the same time. Wednesdays are spent typically at the park or doing arts and crafts. And then Fridays we stay in. That is their fun day. So in the beginning of the week, Monday and Tuesday, they work on their goals. So that would be that meeting, an ISP meeting. And that's where you as parents would, and your case manager would meet with me, and we would talk about, you know, the things you want your child to work on. And so that's what they work on Monday and Tuesdays, so that by the end of the week, they get to just have fun. So Fridays, we get to do games, you know, dance battles, show and tell, and performance center, which is where they can express themselves however they please. Most of them choose to lip sync. Some of them choose to dance. Some of them choose to act out a scene of their favorite movie or a dramatic reading. It really just depends on who's up next. From Monday through Thursday, they're required to bring their own lunch, but on Fridays, we as KLC provide lunch. So we actually have a cooking class on Friday where our participants, they get to choose what meal they want to make, and then a group of them will be in the kitchen working with staff side by side, hand in hand, to create that meal for their peers. That's a typical month. This was March 2020. Can't believe that was a year ago. Anyways, this is our staff. Henry is our director, our Learning Center director. I'm in the middle, so I'm the ADH service supervisor again. And then these three ladies are my direct support workers. They're the ones who are mostly working hand in hand with your participants. So we have, on the left is Michelle. On the far right is Davelyn, and then right next to her is Roxanne. There's a lot of experience with just us. You know, we've got somebody who's got 20 plus years, 17 plus years. You know, a lot have been in this field for a while, and we love it. So that's all I have. Thank you. My email is at the bottom. Our office number is at the bottom. And then if you have any questions.
So Tiffany, are you folks open yet?
Unfortunately, we have not gotten green light to open yet, but we have been doing telehealth services for the past.
What do your telehealth services look like?
I've got a few different groups. It kind of depends on the participant. So I've got a group of girls who are on for 4 hours a day. But then I've got a group of boys who are on for half an hour.
So oddly enough, Kahumana is the program that Jordan attended before she was diagnosed with leukemia. And we know Davelyn, Roxanne, and Michelle and Henry very well. But thank you so much for presenting. Does anyone have questions? I just seen one come up. Oh, what ages? So ADHs are for adults.
Mm-hmm. So 18 and up, we usually take them when they transition out of the DOE. So I believe our youngest is 22 or just turned 23. And our oldest is about 51, I believe. But you know what? He's still got it. So
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for presenting. Does anyone else have any other questions?
awesome.
Well, but thank you so much, Tiffany.
Thank you.
I'll share. This is Debbie. And after spending years at another ADH program with the interruption with COVID, because my son had been going there since his transition from high school, right? Ian participated going 1 day a week for X amount of time as part of his transition plan. And because he lives in Waipahu, I'm trying to build sustainability on the leeward side where he lives. So we decided to take a look at the Kahumana program in Leeward and Waianae. And even though, you know, it's like a 30, 40-minute drive from his house, but it's going the opposite direction of all the other traffic because he spends way too much time sitting in a handy van or a bus stuck in traffic, right? So yay. So we're excited to get a virtual tour and he is stoked. And what I'm really happy about is that it's a little bit more of what I call sort of an intention-driven program, right? There's intent of activities that are being done, and that's kind of what I'm looking for now because, again, he's 31, he's transitioned out of high school and all that. He works, he wants to go and do things, but he does really well when he's keeping busy, and he's a movement kind of guy. So I think it's going to be excellent for him. So I'm excited to join the family.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So if there aren't any more questions, we can move along. And thank you so much for being here. I know you folks are really, really busy trying to get open and figure out how to do that. So we have Evan with Lanakila Pacific would be next. I think I made you a co-host already, Evan.
Yes, hi everybody. Is my audio coming through okay?
Yes. I'm going to spotlight you. There you are. You're in the spotlight.
One moment. Okay. Well, thank you for having me. And it's great to see all of you here. I'm so glad we can connect virtually during this time. Again, my name is Evan Nakatuka, and I work for a nonprofit company called Lanakila Pacific. And my role is the Director of Workforce Programs at Lanakila Pacific. And so I specifically focus on how we support internal employees with disabilities in our various social enterprise businesses. And these are people who we employ directly. And then also looking to see how those opportunities can help people springboard to other jobs if they're interested. We are located at 1809 Bachelat Street. That's our main office. It's right across the street of Kuakini Hospital, but we have sites all over the island, which I'll discuss a little more today. Again, you can find all of this information at www.lanakilapacific.org. And again, like many of the presentations you've heard before, we are a nonprofit partner with the Department of Health Developmental Disabilities Division, as well as the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. So there are some similarities with some of the other programs you've heard when it comes to, again, Medicaid waiver services or employment services. And then of course, some differences as well. If there's one thing to take away from this presentation today about Lanakila Pacific, well, actually, I'm sorry, 3 different things. We have a program for adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities, adult day health program with our teaching and learning centers that I'll be talking about today, as well as employment services for participants with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And then lastly, we have job opportunities that Lanakila Pacific provides. Again, so those are holistic services for adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities through the Department of Health, some array of employment services for people with voc rehab services or Department of Health Developmental Disabilities Division services. And then lastly, Lanakila Pacific job opportunities that we offer as a company. You've heard a little about Adult Day Health from the presentations with other Adult Day Health providers, as well as the Developmental Disabilities Division. And so we offer those services at our Bachelat location, as well as the location in Wahiwa. And there, people can practice life skills. You'll see actually this is a relatively recent picture of someone working on more academic skills during COVID. And so we're looking at holistic skills like practicing our activities of daily living or other individualized goals that each participant with the program has. There are also more virtual activities that we're helping people access. So even though they may come to our either our Wahiwa or Bachelat location, they may still join in on other activities virtually as well, like the virtual day at the Capitol. And then this is a pre-COVID picture, but we also support people with activities in the community. And so participants with the program volunteer, they have various outings, again, supporting their holistic goals. Moving on, we also have employment services for people who have services from the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. So a VR counselor, as part of our plan, may refer someone to Lanakila Pacific for our various employment service options. And so really, when it comes to Lanakila's employment services, this is opportunity for people to develop work skills, identify job interests, or gain hands-on work experience. I think one of the features of our programs is a place where people can really get those repetitions of work, learning new work skills and practicing them in a variety of different settings, really. And so we have people who work at our various work sites, whether it's in town, at Bachelat Street, or at with our grounds maintenance program, which I'll be talking about in a bit. Or we have a custom products, a screen printing division. And so we have a lot of different opportunities that people can gain work skills in. And this is a chance for people to explore their interests, develop work habits, figure out what they like, what they don't like, strengths, areas to continue to develop. And we also help people learn more about work in general, typical workplace expectations, practicing for interview processes, and developing awareness of how people find and maintain jobs in the community. And we have people who do essentially like internships, really, unpaid work experiences or paid internships, again, with the same goals as a typical internship where people are getting exposure and just learning about a new industry. Beyond these programs for the Department of Health or the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, we have a few additional services and pilot projects. One of them is a virtual networking event, similar to what we're doing tonight. This is a monthly meeting for people who are interested in neurodiverse employment. So we have people who are working, thinking about work, or pursuing work. We have people who support them join, or family members. This is held on Zoom, just like we're doing tonight. We just met last night from 5 to 6:30 on Zoom, and the topic was how people go about identifying what they're interested in terms of jobs. How do they identify their job interests, whether it's working, working with VR counselors or other career and college counselors or professionals, or doing their own electronic or paper assessments, or from various experiences they have, whether it's with other training programs, volunteering, when they're in high school. And so really this is just a chance for job seekers and those that support them to share their interests and learn from each other. And many of our collaborators here have shared this opportunity with various participants with the networking, and it's truly that, a networking opportunity for people to learn from each other. Again, you'll find our job opportunities at lanakeelapacific.org/employment. The last thing I wanted to talk about are the jobs that we provide for job seekers. And we have various departments within the company themselves. We have food service, maintenance services, and custom products, which is a screen printing and t-shirt printing process, printing company really within our nonprofit. And these are a few pictures of people working in our kitchen at Bachelot pre-COVID. We have a commercial kitchen that does catering and also provides meals for recipients of our Lanakeela Meals on Wheels program, and that's for seniors. And actually, we've had a few programs providing meals for people with disabilities as well during the pandemic. But again, we have people called food service workers who work in our kitchens and package prepared meals, do dishwashing, inventory, customer service of our cafeteria that's currently open on Bachelot. And so again, these are pictures of our employees who are Lanakeela or work at Lanakeela Pacific. We also have a cafeteria at Hickam Air Force Base where people also work and operate a mess hall that's open 7 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Moving on to our custodial services, we have people who are custodians throughout the islands. We have people cleaning sites in Pearl City, Waianae, on the Windward side in town. And so really our customers are typically offices and buildings all over the island. And then we have, and so these are part-time custodial workers. And then we also have full-time grounds maintenance workers who provide grounds maintenance and landscaping services. And our commercial site starts out at Kapolei, and they again go to ground sites all over the island as well. And we also have people who work at various military bases all over the island providing grounds maintenance services. And then lastly, our custom products where we print t-shirts and shirts like the one I'm wearing actually, and embroidered shirts and caps as well. So again, this is just a broad overview of our company. As others have said, this is just an introduction, and really we welcome people to call and find out more. We have people who do adult day health services and work for the company. We have people who do employment services. It's a wide array of services. Some receive training and then go on to receive other support from other nonprofits to connect with employment opportunities outside of Lanakeela Pacific. It really, all of these services are so individualized. It's all about just identifying the areas of need, interests, and eligibility, and then creating a schedule and a service and goals that's right for each person. Again, just to recap, we have our teaching and learning centers through the Department of Health, our employment services with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, and then job opportunities where people do not need a referral and simply need to just apply online. And they're open like as we speak, really. And like any company, we have openings and then positions are filled, and we, vacancies go up and down. So we just encourage job seekers who may be interested in working for Lanakeela Pacific to continue to check our website or check in with us. Here you'll see my contact information as well as the assistant manager of our employment services, David Comfort, and Lori Lutu, our director of disability services, who oversees our teaching and learning centers and our employment services. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to hear more about Lanakeela Pacific. It's good to see all of you virtually, and I guess I'll open it up for questions.
We're getting there, Evan.
We're getting there. I had a hard time finding my mute button. Okay, so there is a question, and it what do services look like right now? So we did see some pictures that are post-COVID, but what do the services look like right now?
Good question. And so in our adult day health programs, we've opened in person with limitations. And so we're definitely not at full capacity, but we have a limited schedule where people come according to spacing criteria and staffing. And so we are offering in-person services, again, for actually adult day health and our employment services, but people also still have the option to do telehealth as well. So it's really a combination depending on each person. For our employment services, we have people doing hands-on work experience in person or joining classes, again, in person or telehealth. Actually, right now, the majority for our employment services are doing in person. And then lastly, for our workforce, most of our departments were considered essential during the pandemic and are continuing to operate right now, of course, with COVID protocols. And I saw another question about this is for 18 years old and up. Not necessarily, actually. We have people who, if they have VR services, have been referred while they're in high school for various workplace training or experiences, or even to transition early to adult day health, not necessarily to attend full time, but maybe to just check it out and experience, firsthand what different programs look like. So generally for adult day health, yes, that is for adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities through the Department of Health. But I'll say for our employment services, we've started earlier because VR services are available to people before age 18. And then lastly, for our job opportunities, again, there are just typical work requirements that people follow, but we've actually gotten an increase lately if people have the necessarily work permit certificates, can they work early? And so really that's more of a labor law than it is our rule. And so as long as they meet the DLIR, the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations criteria to work as a minor, then they can apply for our positions. And so again, long way of answering for our ADH, that is for adults, but for our employment services, it really just depends on where they're at with their VR services.
Great, thank you so much, Evan.
Thank you, Evan. And so I think what's important for folks to know is this is, again, one of the few providers that you can either go to through your developmental disabilities case management waiver services, right? They can access through Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. Also, so for some folks that aren't able to get into the DDD, right, you have a few services available. Is that correct?
Yes,
through your VR contract?
Yes, correct. And so some people have both VR and DDD. Some people have only VR and some have neither and just apply directly. So it really depends per person. And then, when I mentioned job hunters, many of those virtual networkers are actually working right now, and they may have successfully closed their VR cases, but, are still just having similar conversations that we're having about, how work and their careers are going and kind of sharing their experiences for other job seekers as well.
Right, because it's that maintenance, right? Keeping that job, that's the piece, yeah.
Yes, and we're also just focused on that co-learning, sharing, leadership opportunities, a chance for people to just share their story, their successes, and also what they had to learn along the way. So it's a great opportunity to connect, and despite it being online, we really enjoy it.
I'm awesome. That's great. I'm so happy the program's working out really well for you. So this is really important for folks, especially if your kiddo might be on a diploma track, folks. So just keep this in mind and make sure, keep all the information you're getting tonight. Thank you so much, Evan. We appreciate you being here. I especially appreciate, so I'm going to put it out there. Evan did work with my son straight out of high school. So in that pivotal year of going from being in DOE to being an adult. So it was huge and he did an excellent job. So thanks, Evan. And last but not least, we have our last presentation on estate planning, which, okay, a lot of you folks are way younger than me, but you do need to start thinking about this, especially if your loved one with a disability is going to be getting any of those entitlement benefits that Ronald was talking about. So we have Kirk here from Special Needs Hawaii. Thank you, Kirk, and you can take it away. Kirk, we can't hear you.
Is that better? Yeah? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. This is going to be the shortest presentation I've ever given. I'll be running through it, and for those of you that know me would know that I don't like to run. I have parents answer 3 questions. Who will take care of my child when I can't? And that is going to happen. Where are they going to live? And how are they going to have a good quality of life and government benefits? Now, I started special needs planning in 2004 with MetLife, and I thought this is going to be easy and fun. I have special needs in my family. I saw how it affected everybody, and I thought maybe I can do some help. But you know what? So many things get in the way of life with special needs parents. They have day-to-day things that they have to do for their kids. A lot of times they have to spend extra time just to make things right. And they have to prioritize these things. So a lot of times what I do falls to the bottom of the list. Maybe it gets done, maybe it doesn't, but I certainly hope it does. A lot of times too, parents have to go through different emotions before they're able to sit down and do some planning. Perhaps grief, shock, denial, pain, depression, guilt, anger, bargaining. There's lots of information out there about this, but it's usually after they're through with these emotions that they can sit down with me and discuss what they want to do for their family. So maybe this happens, maybe it never does. But what happens if you don't plan? That's what I want to talk about tonight. Now, do I have can you see my other screen?
Not at this time. No.
Hold on for 1
Only the
second.
screen you're on.
Give me 1 second here. That's my contact information. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay. So what happens if you don't plan? Well, at the age of 18, if you have more than $2,000 of any kind of an asset, pretty much that could be considered an in-kind asset, like a McDonald's gift card, cash, Macy's card, bus ticket, plane ticket, you may be ineligible for government benefits. This includes SSI, MedQuest. We'll talk about SSDI briefly later. Sometimes that $2,000 can get really jacked up if Uncle Chemo decides to leave a $50,000 life insurance policy directly to his nephew. There's all kinds of things that can happen. If you're already on benefits like SSI, you're going to get kicked off and you have to work your way back on. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. And I'm just shooting things out from my hip here pretty much because I have a 40-minute presentation squashed down to about 10. What happens if you die without a will? Well, it's up to the state of Hawaii, to the judge, to divide your property, and he's going to do it according to a formula. And if you have a child with special needs, they're going to get a portion. There's a good chance that it's going to be more than $2,000, and they may be SOL as far as benefits go. With proper planning, you can have all the benefits in the world and millions of dollars to support your child. It just depends how you set it up. You have to think, what kind of life do you want for yourself? What kind of life do you want for your child? When we do our planning, we plan for both the child and the parent, and maybe the grandparents as well, because as everybody knows in Hawaii, we have ohana. We don't have a village, we have ohana. And the whole issue of what we do is to give everybody a good quality of life. So at the age of 18, your son or daughter, they become an adult. They can move out, they can apply for a credit card, they can buy a car, they can get married, they can do all kinds of things. Can your child make good decisions? If not, maybe we should talk about guardianship and conservatorship, which is way too long to present here. But it is very critical. There's also other options available besides guardianship and conservatorship. Sometimes parents hear out of the planning efforts that they know and that they just trust their sons and daughters and all their kids so much, they're going to give brother some money to take care of sister when they're gone. Well, a lot of things can happen that can mess that plan up. And I've been doing this for 15 years now. No, 17 years. And I've never seen this plan be successful one time. What can happen? Let me tell you. Well, they can move to the mainland. They can get married and have a spouse that says, your brother's got so much money in his trust and we need a new roof. Let's do it. They can get divorced and half the money's gone. They can get sued, go bankrupt. God forbid they should die. And then that money just goes to whoever it is, whoever their beneficiaries is. Now, most parents think that they have all the time in the world. This is really a natural thought. Well, we can do the planning tomorrow. We'll be there. But, you know, the timing's not up to us. But what we do with our time really is. I want to touch for a second on something that we said earlier about SSDI. SSDI is not just on your work record, it's also on your parents' work record. So when your parents retire, when the child's parents retire, the child is entitled to 50% of their retirement benefit. When a parent passes away, they're entitled to 75% of the retirement benefit. They can have all the assets in the world and still be eligible for SSDI. And after 24 months, they get Medicare for life. And it's netted out of their payment. So they don't have to go out of pocket for it. But we can talk a little bit more about that later. But I wanted to tell you a little story right now and maybe leave some time for questions. I have a client that lives out here in Hawaii Kai, not too far from me. In fact, they were one of my original clients about 15 years ago. They have a beautiful little daughter. She has autism. She's not communicative, but she's the sweetest thing you ever saw. She loves to go out for dinner. She also loves her beanie babies. Maybe you heard this story before. I don't know. I tell it a lot. Well, one day they decided to go out to Mililani to their favorite restaurant. They all piled in the car and she had her favorite little beanie baby with her. And they got out there and they ate dinner. They had a good time. And then everybody drove home and they were putting their daughter to bed. And she started screaming and yelling and just going off like a siren. And Dad looked around and he knew immediately what was wrong. Her favorite beanie baby was missing. So being the loving dad that he is, he got in his car, drove all the way out to Mililani, 10 o'clock at night, knocked on the door. Thankfully, the cleaning crew was in there. They let him in. He found the beanie baby, brought it back home. As soon as his daughter found it, the siren stopped. She fell asleep. Dad was a neighborhood hero. But what would happen if he didn't know that? What if mom knew that information and she was on vacation or she had died and this happened, or none of the parents were there? How do you get the knowledge that's in your head, all the things you know about your child, into somebody else's head? We have something that's called a letter of intent. It's a document that's not a legal document. It's one that we created, and a lot of parents use it as a template that shows other people what their child's life is like. What's the life of my, what does a day in the life of my child look at? Well, they wake up at 6 in the morning. I make them oatmeal. I put 6 raisins on there for a smiley face, not 5, not 7. He likes 6. Brush his teeth with a blue toothbrush, warm water. Otherwise, he's going to go off. He's going to have a meltdown. The letter of intent is an opportunity for you to pass on what's inside your head about what you want for your child, what you know about your child, what kind of care you'd like for your child. Do you want them to get married? Where do you want them to live? When the time comes, where do you want them to be buried? All those things. Now, like I said, it's not a legal document, but the courts have used it before in all 50 states to prove the parent's intent. It's a good document. It's a great chance to pass on the knowledge. Now, I don't know how much time I have left, but we did send out an evaluation form. Debbie did.
About 4 minutes, Kirk, just to let you
Okay.
know.
All right,
We
thank
did
you.
email that out.
Yeah, and no, I saw it. I got one too. Thank you.
And Kurt, we can definitely plan a night where you can present, you know, for an entire Ho'omana meeting. Because we do know that what you have to offer is very valuable.
Yeah, and something else too. I've been doing this. I've helped about 200 families. I've never charged a penny to any of them for what I do. You have enough on your plate. It's not that I'm a good guy. It's just like I wouldn't feel right. I sell insurance. I do investments. Actually, we're really good at that. I have an associate. He's a young kid. He's way smarter than I am. But if you'd like to have a meeting with me or something, or if you'd like me to talk to me, have a phone call, have a conversation, I'd love to talk to you. One of the problems or one of the issues is that parents don't know about the $2,000 rules. People don't know what they don't know, or they don't know what they don't need to know. And that's true with everything. There's lots of things out there. I network with a lot of the people who have spoken tonight, and I see a lot of people that I know in the audience. And hi, nice to see you guys. And I will be 71 next week, and which means that at some point over the horizon, I'm looking at retirement. So not an advertisement, but I would urge you to maybe talk to me within the next year or so if you want to do some planning, because there is nobody else on the island that does what I do. Another time, the last thing I'm going to say maybe is that people say, well, why do I need you? Can I have a name of a good lawyer who can put together a trust for me? I can go, sure. But that's all they're going to do. They're going to put together a trust. They're not going to check your beneficiary designation so that your son doesn't get part of that $2,000 policy you have at the credit union. They're not going to write a letter to all of your relatives telling them this is why we've set up a plan. So if you want to do something nice for chemo or our daughter, Sherry, this is the way that we've set it up, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. The whole thing is communication between the family members and the friends. And you guys have a whole big group of people that have spoken tonight that are here just to help you. So take advantage of them. We work together. I network with, like I said, with other people. I've referred people to Debbie. She's referred people to me. I do a lot of work with Voc Rehab. There's a lot of good people out there. Please take advantage of us. We're one of the few people that we can say, take advantage of us and mean it. Now, that's really all I have to say. If you have some questions, I'd love to address them. If you don't, and a lot of people don't want to talk about their children or anything specific in public, we've got my email address over on the other screen. If you have any specific interest, put it on the evaluation sheet. Please send those evaluation sheets to me. My compliance department asks me who I've been speaking with. They need to have a record in case somebody down the road decides to sue me. It's good luck trying to get something out of me, but I need to have the names at least of everybody that was interested. And if you send the evaluation sheet in, I'll put you on our mailing list. We send out a monthly special needs newsletter, and we also send out a regular financial planning newsletter, because even if your child has special needs, perhaps you don't, and you're just interested in when should I take Social Security. Anyway, I think I'm about the end, Debbie.
You did perfect, Kirk. And also, I want to make sure you folks know, I actually met Kirk first time at the SPIN conference. So he's usually there. There's lots of ways to follow up. Yeah. So it is really important that you consider this. So let's see if we can. You can go ahead and stop sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
So I have actually used Kirk's letter of intent template, and I created what I call my Jordan sub plan, and it's like a sub binder, and like what Kirk was saying. So like all the things that someone needs to know about Jordan if I die suddenly. And I know that it's kind of like a morbid, discussion to have, but like Kirk said, planning for that is the one thing to give you peace of mind, because for every single one of us, that is the one thing that I think keeps us up at night, is what happens to our child when we're gone. And I remember the first time that someone brought it up with me, it was like, I wasn't ready to hear that. Like I needed to mull it over and then I could revisit it again. And having that sub plan that I have to update regularly because Jordan is also medically complex, but it just gives me some peace of mind that if I go suddenly, that there's actually like some sort of like, you know, just something for people to know who Jordan is.
And I say one more thing that I forgot. January 2002, Congress changed the estate planning laws as we know it and the retirement plan world. So if you do have a trust, if you're lucky enough to have a trust, you should call me if it was written before 2002. I mean, 2020, because it's more than likely partially out of date, needs to have some amendments to it.
So the rules had changed.
Yeah, oh, big time.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah.
know.
In a good way and in a bad way.
And I find for myself as a parent, about every 10 years, I kind of have to revisit and revise things for my son. And I've done the same thing as Kahea. I made a binder. So we've made a binder because his closest living relative besides myself is his brother, who's 2,500 miles away in California with a young family. So if something happens to me, his stepdad, who's also co-guardian with me, takes over. But I can find everything for Ian, and I know where everything is, but good luck finding it if you're not me. So I put everything in a binder. I made one for my husband, and then we've made one for the person that we've asked to be the successor guardian, who's boots on the ground here in Hawaii, that has agreed to do that and can work with his brother, of course. But if you're not married, right, we can't have like 5 guardians and co-guardians. So I made one for Liz and one for my husband. And so my husband has access to like all the documents and things in the safe deposit box. I've made copies and everything for the other person, told her where to find them, told her where like the bank boxes full of Social Security files. Yes, bank boxes. I'm working on my 3rd one because you have to keep everything and report everything. It's really important. And if you're going to ask someone to take over doing this job, that is so important and a lot of work. And we love our kids more than anyone. So I figure it takes 2 or 3 other people to do what we do. So you really, it's so hard to think of a world where you're not here to do that for them. But part of getting, you know, part of the control is doing it now so that something horrible does not happen, because so many things are not in our control.
Yeah,
So
Debbie,
it's important.
Debbie, you mentioned boxes. Okay. One thing that I would say is save your IEPs because nobody else is going to have a copy of them. And number 2, save any medical evaluations, because when it comes to SSDI, which is a great program, you have to be able to prove that your child was disabled before a certain age. And the only way you can do that is if you have records that are official.
And scan. We have scan, but I have all Social Security boxes.
Scan them and back them up to the cloud.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, folks, we do have a few minutes here. We do have our own evaluation that's going to be dropped into the chat.
It's in the
and I want to make sure that folks have enough time to do that. And I just want to thank all of our presenters for being here. It was a long evening. We appreciate your time. We're not paying anybody for anything, so we're very appreciative. And we appreciate all of you professionals and family members for being here on your evening time too. We know this is kind of our important family time. So thank you so much. We hope that the information is helpful, that will help steer you in the right direction. We don't, you know, this is a snapshot view. Now we want you to go more in depth with the folks you know you want to follow up with right away. And then our intention is to then invite most of the speakers tonight to come back and just be a guest speaker for our meeting.
Yeah, which is why the evaluation is so important. So if you can go into the chat and click on the Google Doc link, it'll take you right to the form. It's a real quick evaluation. And then we'll know who you want to hear more about or more from. And then we can go ahead and schedule those nights where we can have a designated night just to each of the speakers.
Yes. And I'm going to give a quick plug to Spin. Spin is doing a workshop this Saturday. I don't know the times. I'm really sorry. I know that Ronald's going to be there and folks from CDS on benefits planning, future planning. And the registration is open until 8 o'clock on Saturday. You can go to the Spin.
It's at 10 a.m.
Thank you. I'll be there too, because even though I've done all this, I want to hear more because there's always something to learn.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'll put our little plug in there, and there's going to be several things going on. So there's a lot of great stuff out there right now on transition. So make sure to sign up for everything. So if you'd be kind enough to do the eval, that would be great. And thank you for all of you who I know out there. I so appreciate you coming here. And it's so nice to see folks I've known for a long time. And if I don't know you yet, well, you're just a friend I haven't made yet, right? So, and we hope that all parents that are here tonight feel free to come to our support group, and we'll make sure in all of our follow-up stuff, we'll send you our flyer for our monthly meetings.
And if anyone is interested in registering for the workshops coming up for SPIN, Amanda has just put a link in the chat.
She got my hint, huh? Awesome.
Thank you, Debbie and Gahea. That was awesome. So much great information.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and giving your time. We appreciate that.
Responses are rolling in. There's 5, there's 6, there's 7.
Woo.
Thank you, everybody, for responding.
Yes, thank you very much.
See you.
And thank you to the professionals that came. You know, we want you to get the same info and to have the same resources, because it takes everybody working together to make the life, that good life that Abby talked about, become a reality, right? And then you just go into maintenance mode. It's maintaining, it's maintaining, it's maintaining, and sustainability. I should have like some music queued up or something, you know? But...
Oh. Well, does anyone else have any more questions before we end our night?
If not, we'll leave it open so you can finish the chat, but we can turn our cameras off and let you all do that. So thank you.